Welcome to Are We On Topic Yet by the Wild Wonder Collective.
Where faith meets real life and nothing's off limits except perfection.
We're your hosts, Dr. Melody, Mama Viv, and yours truly, Angie K.
We're talking all things ministry, motherhood, marriage, mindset.
And the messy moments in between.
Here, the conversations are real, the grace is deep, and the coffee, well, hopefully it's still hot.
So whether you're driving, multitasking, or hiding in the bathroom for 5 minutes of peace,
grab your pen, grab your journal.
Or let's be honest, your laundry basket, and join the convo.
Let's get into it.
All right. Welcome to episode 4.
Yay!
Woohoo! We made it.
Number 4.
All the things. Okay. We are talking about marriage is a mirror and sometimes it's cracked. Ooh.
Good topic. Ooh. Heavy topic, but good.
Okay. Heavy topic. Are you guys ready for this, ladies?
As ready as I can be.
Maybe. Here we are.
I guess we'll see how this goes. Okay, so today we are going to hit the points of expectations you came into your marriage with, marriage as a mirror, marital struggles, faithfulness, singleness, and humor and hope. I tell you, we are like always trying to go for these marathons, but I don't know. I think we might make it. What do y'all think? Maybe? No?
I think we might, but if we start getting into testimonies, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how you do this without testimonies, but I'll tell you, we made it by the skin of our teeth last week. So maybe we'll do it again, or maybe even a little bit better. We'll see.
Maybe. We'll try.
Okay, so what's one expectation you had about marriage that absolutely did not hold up?
Can I go first?
Please.
Yes.
Okay. I believed that if I did God's work, that God would automatically make my marriage succeed without any input from me.
Wow.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, after all, I was doing his work, right?
Yeah.
I want to say, I think that many people hold that belief in some kind of capacity, because I think when me and God got in our first like huge fight with one another, well, I was fighting him. It was because I was upset that I had done everything he asked and he still allowed me to feel pain. And so in my mind, it was kind of a similar thing. Like, I'm doing everything you tell me to do. So, right. What's my benefit? So yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. What about you, Angie K?
I'm still thinking, I don't know. So, I obviously got married in my quote unquote later years, compared to you all. And so I had seen quite a bit of what marriage looks like, at least from the outside. And so I think that my expectations were pretty well managed before I jumped into things. But if I had gotten married, in my 20s, I probably would have come with a lot of expectations, but I just didn't do that.
Yeah. I honestly struggled as well. And I was like, maybe it's because I was already a therapist. I did get married around, I don't know, later 20s. And at that point, I had a really solid foundation with God. I know that me and God went on a journey about becoming a wife and stuff like that. But as I kept thinking, I think my expectation was actually more around my in-laws than it was my marriage. And I believed that my in-laws would operate the way my family operates. And I had to learn that we are very different groups. Not to say we don't have any things in common, but they're definitely not us and we're not them. And that's not in a bad way. That's just in a way. You know what I mean? And
Different
learning how
cultures.
to, and learning how to adapt to a different family culture than what I was accustomed to.
Yeah.
That was
good.
ones for me.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I give one more?
Sure.
Yeah, I didn't give one, so you have space.
That's what I was thinking. Well, I believe that in most situations, I knew best. Uh, not all
You still believe
situations.
that.
No,
Don't put her on Front Street.
no, no, I, I've been healed. Uh, but not all situations, but maybe 99.9% of the time, I felt like I knew best. And it was
Can we
hard
just lift our
accepting.
hands and pray for Mama Viv?
Like, what?
It was, it was,
You've been healed?
oh, come on. Cut her off the video. No, no, no.
Okay, we're
No.
listening. I'm sorry.
I'm
Yeah,
And
sorry.
so what
so
happened?
yeah, I'm telling you, this is a serious story, even though I'm smiling. So,
Please
so
continue.
it was hard for me to accept godly wisdom, well, quote unquote, godly wisdom from, well, now I had husband number one and husband number two. Now, husband number one had been an atheist and then an agnostic.
Don't you
And
talk
then,
about my daddy that way.
He doesn't even
Sorry,
claim
I'm sorry.
atheism.
and then,
He doesn't even
and
claim
then, and then husband number two had been in a cult. So it was hard for me
Yeah.
to accept godly wisdom from them when they hadn't been in Jesus camp long enough.
And you were born into it, so
And I was
clearly
born
you
in
knew
Jesus
better.
camp. Yeah. Okay. But all right.
Those are
And
expectations.
and you figured out that you don't always know best?
Mhm.
Mel, move on to the next
Okay.
subject, Dr. Melody, please.
Okay.
Please.
Yes, yes.
Sorry.
I honestly, I really did. Guys, just look at me. I figured it out. God helped me to figure it out.
Are you talking to the audience?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Because you guys are talking nonsense. I got to talk to somebody who really understands.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to talk about struggles, right? Like some people struggle with finances or communications, even communications, communication, even unmet expectations or parenting. Sometimes even in those times, like you want to give up or you want to go silent in your marriage. And so let's talk about some of those times, like even the difficulty about being married to somebody different from you. I think that's most people, right? But let's talk about some of those times. What's happened in your own life? Here come the testimonies in your own life, where there were struggles.
So my struggle isn't listed, with what you said.
Mhm.
Well, let me not say that because we have had our communication struggles. I don't know any couple who comes in and they just know exactly how to communicate with each other. If you've done
Yeah.
that, bravo. Can you write a book? Because I would love to read it.
How you conquer it before, like completely conquer it before. I know that would be amazing.
Listen, yeah, God's done wonderful things in the communication between me and my husband, but we had to learn. But the struggle that we have dealt with so majorly is grief. Um,
Oh.
yeah, so from the very first year of our marriage, until year 7, we had somebody die that was close to us every single year.
Mm.
And sometimes there are
Wow.
multiple people who were close to us in the year who died. And my husband's side had the lion's share of the deaths. And I think it would have been different if it were my side, because guess what? I know how to deal with my own grief, but I didn't know how to deal with his grief. And
Mm.
so that was like a major struggle. The first 2 deaths that we experienced were his grandmother and his mother. Like those are like major deaths to learn how to deal with somebody's grief on. And I mean, I thank the Lord that he gave grace and taught me how to help him, through those moments, but that really has been a struggle for us, and then compounding those with other deaths, compounding those with us losing, children. Like, yeah, like we have both fought through that, like tough fought through that. And I don't mean each
Yeah.
other, but I mean, fought to get through that grief and get through it together and come out on the other end stronger and more
Yeah.
connected.
Yeah. What would you say one tip
Wow.
is like for people who are struggling with that?
I think you need to really listen.
Mm.
Because like I said, I knew my own grief and I knew how I dealt with grief before. I had dealt with death before, but I didn't know his. And so the first thing
Mm.
that I did was, and this may sound silly, but the first thing I did was I wanted to hug him. I wanted to rub his legs because guess what? That's what works for me. Like when I'm sad, I want somebody to hug me. I want them to rub my hair, touch my leg, let me know that they're there in a physical touch kind of way. But for him, that was just flat out annoying. I mean, it just was because that's not the way that he processes. And so I needed to listen to the way that he needed me to be there when he was talking and responding to me. So I needed to listen, number one, audibly, but then I also needed to listen to his body language. What was he saying to me about the way he needed me to be there for him?
Yeah, so good.
That is really good. Wow, that's deep.
Yeah. Mama Viv, did you want to go or you want me to jump in first?
I don't care. What would you like to do?
I'll
I'm sorry.
I'll just go. Okay. I want to say the one that stands out to me for today is communication. And it's really interesting because I am good at communication. At least that's what people tell me. People actually
You're great at it.
I'm gonna say people actually write down things I say and say that again because they want to use how I phrase things, which is really funny to me. But so I'm good at communication, and that's not the way we struggled in communication. So like if he was saying something, I can absolutely piece it together. I can make it sound very, flowy, the whole thing. The part where we struggled is that both of us uh kept aspects of ourselves hidden, right? And so
Mm,
like for me, he's a very direct communicator. He wants to say things, he wants to make sure he is verbalizing whatever, and he wants to just be very like black and white in it. And I really don't like to have to talk a whole lot. I know that sounds crazy because I'm a whole therapist and I speak and all the things, but in my personal life, I prefer I don't. I literally wrote down in high school, God, I would like a husband who reads my mind because I don't want to have to,
wow.
yeah,
I
I
understand
don't,
completely.
I don't want to have to do a whole lot of talking, but that's really hard for him because he's so direct. And so a lot of things that go on with me, I would deal with inside of my head, especially because I have a close relationship with Jesus. I also don't like to talk a whole lot. And I am a therapist, so I am constantly processing myself the same way I process other people. So if I was dealing with things, I would just go silent and deal with myself internally, and me and Jesus would work it out. And so but that's staying hidden from him, right? And that was very hard for him because then he would have to try to fill in the blanks of what's going on and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
and he honestly just said, like, I don't like it when you do this, and I really want to understand what's happening. And so God has really been pushing me out of my shell
Well, that's
even
good.
more, even in year what are we, married 16, together 20, right? I'm still learning how to be more open about who I am and what goes on with me to him. And he also was hiding, but not in the same ways. He was hiding more in things that he felt like he had a deficit in. But the same way I didn't realize I was hiding, he didn't realize he was hiding either. And so, like, we had to grow in our knowledge of that's what's actually happening and that it is inhibiting our communication with one another and in turn inhibiting our connection with one another. So, yeah.
Wow, that
Mama
is
Viv, I
really
think
good.
that I think that internal processing is like our family culture. Because do you do that too, Mama Viv? Because I know I do, and I have to fight against
Yes.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, all the time.
Yeah.
Um, I think I want to talk about the one being married to someone different and learning to
Mm.
love well anyway. Y'all
Yeah.
gonna get me up in here crying, crying, and I don't want to start crying.
It's your season.
Yeah, well, that's one thing about marriage a lot of times is that people have different backgrounds. They come from different backgrounds. And so my husband and I, we came from totally opposite backgrounds. He was accustomed to a house of abuse. His father was very abusive with him and with his mom. And there was this peace. It was like la la land at my house. And so they had a different way of discussing things. And so I had decided that I want my house to be a house of peace. And so when we would try to discuss something, he would take the approach from the way his parents did. And I didn't see that as peace, and he didn't see it as chaos.
Mm.
So
Wow.
that was,
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was quite interesting because I felt like it was an attack, and he felt like it was a conversation. And so God had to show me his heart, because I
Yeah.
tell you, if I had not seen his heart, I would have gone AWOL forever. But God showed me his heart, and that his heart was not to destroy us, but it was actually his way of communication and trying to get some things done. And so once I could see his heart, then it was so much easier to try to suggest things, to give it a different turnaround, a different twist in the way we would approach things, and then to sit down and talk about how my family approached things, and then us coming to an agreement together. Does it work all the time? No. We're sometimes going back into that same person or something like that. But when we do things like that, it does work. And the times when I felt like I was going to go AWOL, and then all of a sudden God would just place more love inside of me.
Mm.
And I would look at him and I say, you know what? I really do love him. I might not like what he said, but I really do love him. And then it was like the love of Christ would just pour in through me. And he probably, now I'm telling you, if he told this story, he'd probably say the same thing about me. Okay. But I'm just saying, but the love of Christ would just pour in through us, and he would minister to him without me even saying anything to him. And he would minister to me without him saying anything to me. And then it would have a really good outcome. Okay. That's all I'm going to say.
That's
No,
awesome.
it's so good. And actually, I feel like it goes into our next topic, which is faithfulness, right? Like how to
Mm.
choose your spouse, like in seasons when the feelings fade. Like I think we just live in a culture right now where people are like, they don't make me happy anymore, and then they feel
Yeah.
like that's like permission, right, to get divorced. And so,
Yes.
like, how do we, choose covenant in those seasons, and even like in seasons where our marriage might need a miracle, right? How do we continue to remain faithful in those spaces?
Can I just say
Oh,
that it reminds me of what a good friend said years ago, and I've told you guys this, I think, but she was on her second marriage, and she said, if I had known that back then what I know now, the work that it would take in the second marriage, just like it did in the first marriage, I would have stayed married,
Mm,
because the 4th of July happens at the beginning, but after a while, those firecrackers sizzle on down. Okay.
hmm.
And when they sizzle down and you have to go get down to brass tacks and fighting for your marriage, when this person becomes somebody, they're not wooing you like they did at the beginning. And then they may be paying more attention to work or something like that. When the tide turns, then you realize that, hey, I could have really worked on that first marriage and could have gone through it. But let me explain something. The tides may turn, but when you try to do it God's way, there is a richness. It's like on the 4th of July, and they have all those cannonball things, and that's the way it is when it starts off. But then after a while, it gets to the part where you just have the sparkler, and all that loud noise is gone, and all you have is that sparkler. But there's something about that sparkler in the middle of the night that brings light to your situation, and it brings you even closer together. And there's a mellowness that comes
Hmm.
in your love that you didn't even have before. You couldn't even understand a mellowness at the time when the loud noise was going off. But then there's that mellowness that draws you together. And you're talking about being made one
Mm,
instead of being two. you know, that's what
yeah,
really happens. It merges that. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Just
yeah.
somebody stop me.
It's beauty in those soft, sweet moments. That's what I hear. The beauty in those soft, sweet moments. And GK, what were you getting ready to say?
Well, y'all know I have some pretty strong stances
Oh, I know. Come
on
with it.
marriage.
Come with that.
And
I'm
so
with.
I just cannot get down with the he doesn't make me happy anymore. She doesn't make me happy anymore. Yeah,
That's
you know,
good.
listen. I love happiness. I am such a joyful person. I laugh all the time. I smile probably most of the time. But the Lord never said, you know what? You're just going to be happy every moment of your marriage. He never said this, right? Now, does
He
he want us
didn't.
to be happy every moment of our marriage? Yeah, because he wants us to be happy, period. But there are some things that just because of sin, a fallen world, there are some things that you're just not going to be happy about. But that doesn't give you the right to crush the covenant. Like,
Mm,
you know, marriage is a choice. And so if you're deciding to make this choice, right? You're deciding to die to yourself, right? So you're deciding to die to the quote unquote right to be happy at all times. Now, is it possible to be happy at all times? It is. It's possible, to overcome all the sad points or whatever. I should say at all times, but you know what I'm saying. To overcome the sad points, it's possible to do that, but you don't have a right to that. You have a right to die to yourself because that's what you signed up for, and if you feel like you're dying in your marriage, it's probably because you haven't died to yourself. That's what
mm.
that's what I got from
Woo,
Apostle Victor
I
Hicks. I
know.
love when he says that because it's the
Come
truth,
on,
baby.
Apostle
If you're
Victor.
dying in your marriage, it's because you haven't died to yourself.
That's
And
true.
so
Oh,
yeah,
that's
and
rich. That's rich.
we we
Come with.
talk about these feelings fading, but the Bible talks about where your treasure is, there your heart will be.
Ah,
Are you
Mm.
putting your treasure in your spouse? Okay.
Ooh.
So if you're putting your treasure in your spouse, your heart is going to be with your spouse. That's what the Bible tells us. And if we believe the
Mm-hmm.
Bible, then we have to know that to be true. So I am constantly trying to intentionally put my treasure in my husband because
Mm.
that's where I want my heart to be.
Come
So
on.
anyway, I
Come
have a lot
on.
of
so
strong
good.
opinions.
Oh, I love
Listen,
your
they were
strong
very
opinions.
rich, strong opinions. And I'm gonna say I'm also hardcore marriage guy, so I'll just, this whole culture around everything is supposed to be joyous for me, I just can't get with either. But what I will say about this is when you are struggling to maintain faithfulness, like when you are entertaining the idea of maybe I should go, then maybe you should have some real conversations with God about where you're at and let Him respond. Okay.
Yeah.
That
Yes,
is what
yes.
has saved me every time. And I just imagine the Father laughing in heaven and saying, this silly little girl wants to throw away her treasure. You
Woo,
know what I
Mm,
mean?
yeah.
And I'm
yes.
going to tell you, because I am an obedient child, or at least I try to be, and I don't do what I feel, but I do what my daddy tells me, then I'm
Yeah.
able to see treasure on the other side of hard.
Ooh,
Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
yes.
And so I just
So
encourage you
good.
to lean into Christ in the season of hard. Lean into him anyway, but lean into him in the season of hard to get back on the other side of treasure, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
That's so good.
and let me also say that your spouse is not supposed to make you happy. So it's crazy to me that
Come
you would
with.
think that now you're supposed to
Yes.
leave because you're
Ooh,
not happy. That was never a thing. Your joy comes from the Lord. And so if you're
yes.
struggling in joy, you need to go back
Yes.
and talk to your dad about that, right? Jesus, Holy Spirit,
Mm-hmm.
talk to somebody, talk to all of them, talk to somebody, okay? But not
Listen.
your spouse, because your spouse, that is not their
Yes.
job. And you should not
It's
leave
not their
because
job.
it has not been fulfilled.
That's right.
Right.
Come with. I got a video about. No, never mind.
Oh
Okay,
goodness.
we are shifting and we want to give some encouragement to our singles.
Yes.
What's a word of encouragement that you might drop to some of the singles out there that are listening today?
I just
And
want you to remember that God does have you on his mind. Like, marriage is beautiful and wonderful, but it is not that's not the only thing that exists, right?
Mm,
So, God, your season of singleness, it's not just this, oh, I'm just preparing for marriage. Yeah, that's great. You can prepare for marriage, but there's so much you can do with the Lord in
Yes.
can't even talk in your singleness season. And so
Mm-hmm.
don't negate that. Don't neglect that. That's the time where you can pray as much as you want to without having to meet somebody else's needs. That's the time that you can go to the midnight church services.
Yes.
And I'm not saying you can't do those things when you're married, because you can, but there's always somebody else to think about, when you're married, and that's wonderful. But honey, that time alone with God, that's priceless. I'm trying to tell you, it's priceless.
Yes.
And God hears your heart about wanting to be married. So don't ever think that he doesn't hear that, but he is preparing the spouse, right? Let him prepare the spouse. You want him to prepare the spouse, because if you get the spouse before they're prepared, you may not stay with that spouse and they may not stay
Woo!
with you. So
that's
let him
real.
For
prepare.
real. For
That
real.
is real. I'm going to jump in and say, live. That is
Mm-hmm.
my
Yeah.
deepest regret as a former single person. I did not live. And I'm going to tell you, I honestly got that from Angie K. She doesn't necessarily know she gave me that, but the way she did single and the way I did single was different. I feel like my single was waiting for marriage to do. And I feel like her
Mm,
single was living life till its fullest and then eventually getting
Mm-hmm.
married. And I really wish I had made those choices. I mean, she traveled, she did all the things. And I know traveling is now like popular. And so a lot of people are doing it. But this is before the Facebooks and all the Instagrams and pictures and all this kind of stuff. Like she just did what she wanted to do. And I admire that about her. And I wish that I had lived, because it is more to life than just waiting to get to marriage. So much more,
yes.
so much more. And get to
Mm-hmm.
know yourself, because you don't know yourself the way
Yeah.
you think you do. And get to know the God of the universe, right? Get to know
Mm-hmm.
him intimately, deeply, personally, because I don't know. I just believe that that longing, unless he put it inside of you, will be quenched with the relationship that you formed with him. That's how I see that. Unless God has put it inside of you, because he's now getting ready to shift you into a new season. And that does happen. But that live, get to know you, get to know God.
Mm.
That's good.
Yes. You guys have said so many wonderful things, but I believe I have a message for the singles from above. And everything you're saying has been messages, but he just wanted me to speak this, I believe, to you. And he said, enjoy your season in a godly way, your single season in a
Mm,
godly way. He said, enjoy it, because sometimes we're so busy looking for the mate, like you were saying, Mel,
Mm.
looking for the mate, that we don't
mm-hmm,
take time to smell the roses. You know,
mm,
we don't take time for that. He says, enjoy your season. He said, take this time to allow Holy Spirit to mold and make you. And that's, it's just like what you guys were saying, but take the time to allow it. And then he says to find the joy that is actually in that season before trying to jump to another one. Find the joy that's in that season. And he says, and if you haven't found joy, I advise you to dig deeper in the well of my love.
mm.
He says,
Yeah.
that's
So
where the joy
rich.
is. That's where the
So
joy is. And
rich.
then he says, I know you're saying, well, how do I dig deeper? How do I do that? He says, please set aside some special time to spend with me. You may say
Yeah.
again, how do I do that? He says, it's as simple as setting an alarm, turning
Mm,
off your
Come
phone,
on.
getting off social media during that time. Say, play love songs to me and I'll play them back to you.
mm.
Talk to me and I'll talk to you. Hallelujah. About to go church on you guys. All right. He says, I love you and I want to prove my love. He says, and then listen.
Oh, that is
Listen,
so
I have an
beautiful.
alarm set in my phone for God. Like literally, my alarm starts going off at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then it goes off every hour until 3 to spend time with the Lord. So I love that so
Ooh,
much.
every
Yes.
hour. I love
Yes.
that, Andrea.
He's
You're holding
serious.
out.
I'm telling you, he is serious about wanting your love. He is
Yeah.
serious about it. He is wooing you right now. That's like poetry, like
Ooh.
somebody sending you some poetry from your love, you know. He says,
Mm,
come on, sing to me and I'll sing to you. Talk to me and I'll talk to
Yeah.
you. And he says, and
yes.
just listen. Mm.
Getting
Mm.
into that secret place. Whew.
Yes.
Oh,
Whew.
ladies, we are like 1 minute out, but
What?
we need
Ah,
to, I know, I
this
know.
happen every time.
Every time we need to give some encouragement to our married people, and we forgot to, well, not forgot to, we didn't get to giving a piece of humor and hope. And so, as we are giving that encouragement, let's try to see if we can maybe give a twist of either some humor or hope. What we were going to talk about is like something silly that our husbands do, but you don't have to necessarily do that. But if you can give a twist of humor and maybe some hope as you give this final word of encouragement to our married people, then that would be great.
I think the encouragement I would give is hopeful encouragement. So I think I fit that in. But what I just so strongly believe that restoration is possible. Okay.
Mm,
Like, you know, we talked heavily about, being committed to your covenant, and you don't just walk away because you're not happy. And then so some people are probably like, well, what do I do? Because this is not it. And I get that. I'm not saying that, you don't have a life, but restoration is possible if you want it, but you have to want it. And sometimes you have to work really hard for it. But there's hope on the other side. And I've seen it with so many couples. Matter of fact, I actually know at least one couple, I think two, that got divorced and got remarried because
that part. That
because they
part.
just, they worked it out. Restoration is
Yes.
possible. There is hope
Yeah.
for your marriage no matter where you
Mhm.
think it is. If you want it to work, you can fight for it to work and get there.
Oh, okay, I guess I'll go next. Early in our marriage, and I was just telling you about how we had different ways of attacking a problem, and I wanted peace, and he, wanted whatever that was. But anyway, and so I locked my husband out of the house, okay, because he wasn't peaceful. He wasn't peaceful, y'all. So I took his key
She's
without him
grown
knowing it.
since then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
That's
was at
some
the
of the growth.
beginning.
That's some of the
That was at the
growth.
beginning. That was at the beginning. But but anyway, he was locked out. So anyway, when God worked everything out, and he could come back in the house, then one day I looked in his trunk and he had like about 100 keys that he had made. He wasn't getting locked out anymore. But I'm just saying, God restored us, and here we are still today in 20 some years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
And just
Um,
I'm sorry, and men, just know, make a lot of keys. No, go.
I love it. Maybe some of the ladies need to make keys too. Okay.
Listen.
But
There's hope.
yes, I want to say, don't forget to laugh.
That's
Sometimes
good.
Mm,
when we are going through a hard season and we're working on reconciliation and restoration, we're so filled with frustration or anger or whatever, or so focused, so dialed in on how somebody needs to grow or how you need to grow, that you forget to laugh. You forget that you're
so
actually
good.
friends and that you
Yeah,
like doing things together. And so honestly, sometimes you need to like take a pause from the reconciliation part. Like, let's pause the work so we can go and laugh together. Let's go watch
that's
something that we would
good.
normally watch and have a
So
great time
good.
doing it. Or, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Let's play checkers together because that would make us laugh. Like, don't forget to laugh.
That's
I
so good.
love that. I love that.
Well,
Yeah.
ladies, we're coming to a close.
What?
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Hmm.
I would like to know from our audience, like, what's one way that marriage has surprised you, either for better or for growth? Okay.
Ooh, ooh.
Yes.
Uh-oh. How has it
Yeah.
Yes.
surprised you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Let us know in the
And
chat.
yeah, so we're closing out, but does anybody know what we're talking about next week?
Hmm. I think it's what I thought I'd be doing by now.
Oh,
Oh.
Are you where
that's
you
gonna be
thought you
good.
were gonna
That's gonna
be?
be good. Wait till you hear
So
what I
rich.
thought I would be doing.
So rich.
I know.
I
I'm like
cannot
I'm on the
believe
edge
it.
of my seat, ready to tell
Yes.
you what I
Believe
thought
it.
I was gonna be doing by now. I'll give you a little trailer tidbit. I wanted to be a fly girl from In Living Color when I was a little girl.
Yes, you
I
did.
can't
Yes,
wait
you
for
did.
this. I can't wait for this.
That's another episode of Are We on Topic Yet from the Wild Wonder Collective.
If today made you laugh or feel a little more seen,
Go ahead and hit subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave us a review.